Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exam Room with Nurse Alice, the show where we take a closer look at things going on in the world today. Everything from health, wellness, love and lifestyle, even politics and pop culture. I'm your host, Nurse Alice, and if this is your first time joining, welcome. And just so you know, I am truly a nurse. I am a cardiac clinical nurse specialist and family nurse practitioner with over 20 years of experience. You may have seen me on television here and there, but this is the show where we get to talk about things more in depth and about the things that I don't get to talk about on the other platforms that I feel are very important for us to talk about, and things that you want to talk about as well. Again, we do this every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Exam Room with Nurse Alice. So start your watch party, share it with your friends, because this is a conversation that you won't want to miss. We have a great show, a great guest, and lots of wonderful information lined up for you this evening. And speaking of what's happening this evening, I know there's lots going on in the world today, and I generally like to start the show off with just some kind of hot topics, what's going on. And right now, I don't know what else is going on outside of COVID-19 and the Lakers winning. Go Lakers, right? And kudos to the Lakers for how they managed playing the game in that bubble there in Florida. They really showed the nation about how we can prevent the transmission of COVID. They did an excellent job. And speaking of COVID-19, yes, I know that it's still very much a world pandemic, guys, lots going on. And we are starting to enter into flu season, whether it feels like it or not, because here in California, it's super hot. I think fall missed the memo, but I'm starting to hear a lot of myths about the flu. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to go over a few myths that I'm hearing about the flu. So let's debunk those myths before we get into our show. Okay, so one of the first myths, guys, that I'm hearing is that more people die of the flu than COVID-19. And I want to say that is a myth. While we do know that the flu is contagious and it can be deadly, and every flu season is different, but it's been about anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 people lose their lives to the flu every year. Now, what we know about COVID-19 and in this past 8-9 months is that we've lost over 210,000 lives to COVID-19. So that's more than 5 flu seasons combined. Okay, so that there is a myth. Okay, next myth. The flu vaccine will give you the flu. I know it can sometimes feel like that because sometimes you might have some side effects after you get the flu shot, right? You might feel a little achy, a little low-grade fever, fatigue, and it feels like you're about to get the flu, but it's not. It's actually just a sign that your immune system is working, because most flu shots are given with inactivated viruses or one small protein from the virus, enough to tickle your immune system to help you develop antibodies, but not enough to give you the full flu. And if by chance you do get the flu, it could be that you were possibly exposed before those 14 days where your body didn't get the chance to develop those antibodies to protect you. Next myth, the flu vaccine will protect you against COVID-19. So this is a myth. And while I wish this was true, it is not. So the flu and COVID-19 are 2 different disease processes caused by 2 different viruses. COVID-19 is a disease as a result of SARS-CoV-2 from the coronavirus family, and the flu is from one of the strains of the influenza virus. And every year, the flu vaccine targets the 3 to 4 flu strains that scientists believe will be highest in circulation. And so that's what the flu vaccine protects you from, and not COVID-19. Sorry about that. You know, I wish it was, but we're not quite there yet. Last myth I want to go over is you don't need the flu shot every year. You do need the flu shot every year. And I know you're like, but there are some immunizations you get, it's just one and done. Well, not so with the flu vaccine, and primarily for 2 reasons. First reason being is we know that immunity from a vaccine has the potential to decline over time. So that's one. And the second reason is every flu season is different, and flu viruses change and they mutate. And every year, scientists do their best to try to predict which flu strains will be in circulation. And so they go into the laboratory and they, make that particular flu vaccine based on those predictions. So every year, the flu vaccine has the potential to be different based on those predictions. So you need to get a flu shot every year to protect yourself from what scientists believe will be the strains that are in circulation. And that flu vaccine might be different from last year. So yes, you do need to get a flu vaccine every year, guys. So I just wanted to debunk some of those myths, because we are still in a world pandemic. Flu season is upon us, and I want as much as possible to try to help you all to help us prevent what could possibly be what they're predicting to be a twin-demic. Nope, we don't want no parts of that. Okay, and so now we're going to switch gears. Other things going on in the world today, guys. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. It's a time where we recognize the unique grief of a loss of a child from stillbirth, miscarriage, SIDS, and other causes. Every year, there are about 24,000 babies who are born stillborn, and about 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. And I know, we've been watching television, the news, and one of our most beloved actresses, models, and TV host, Chrissy Teigen, and her husband, John Legend, shared in a very personal post a recent loss that they experienced as they lost their baby about halfway during Chrissy's pregnancy. So, that's something that's very personal, very tragic. While we are not necessarily privy to Chrissy's care, we do want to respect their privacy because it is October and Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. I want to commend them for coming out and sharing their story because we need more advocates to help us better understand that. And speaking of advocates and experts joining the conversation to better help us understand that, I have the one, the only Dr. Jessica Shepard. She's an OBGYN physician and women's health expert. Welcome to the show, Dr. Jessica Shepard.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you. Now, Dr. Shepard, I know that we've saw this Chrissy's post on social media. It made me very sad. And while you may not directly have been taking care of her, and we want to respect their privacy, part of it is we still want to better understand what maybe happened so that we can take that information and apply it to our own lives and apply it to, things where we can help our friends and our family so we can take the proper precautions and support those who might experience it. So what can you tell us anything about what possibly happened with Chrissy Teigen and her pregnancy?
Yeah, and I'm glad you gave that disclaimer. I'm not her OBGYN and I'm not sure of all the specific details. But there was, things that I could take from her case and hearing. She was very transparent throughout her pregnancy. And she did let us know, she did, kind of give cues of where she possibly was in her pregnancy as far as trimester. And she did say she would pass that halfway mark. So from that, I can assume that she's past 20 weeks. And then also when she was first admitted early on in the week, and she said that she was on bed rest. Now, when we think of someone who's over 20 weeks in their second trimester, getting towards the latter portion of the second trimester, there are many things that we can do if they are to a certain week to try and be resuscitative when it comes to efforts for saving a baby. Now, going to another thing that she mentioned, which was bleeding. She was having bleeding and she had some transfusions rather that she was being given, alludes that there may have been a bleeding issue. We don't know if that was maternal or a fetal, issue with bleeding. But from what I can understand, it sounds like there is most likely a placental issue, whether that's a placental location issue or how it embeds into the actual uterus, if that was an issue with that. But I do think that, the efforts that were made from the medical team as far as keeping her stabilized by giving her bed rest, keeping her hospitalized, and also making sure that she had blood products was their way of trying to restore or, help resuscitate this pregnancy until it possibly got to a point where that was inevitable or the outcome was just, rather grim. And they had to come to a very hard decision, which we all shared with them and saw that aftermath, which is very emotional.
It is. Now, Chrissy Teigen, from what we know, looks very fit, looks healthy. She's in her early 30s, so I don't believe she's quite advanced maternal age, as they would say. And so that can be very frightening for people who are, aspiring to be mothers or who are looking to have subsequent children, is there anything that we know that we can do to decrease our chances of having any of these placental issues or a miscarriage or anything like that? Any suggestions?
Yeah, that's a great segue into what is the difference between a miscarriage and a stillborn. So when we look again at when that loss is during a pregnancy, a miscarriage is usually going to be termed prior to 20 weeks, and after 20 weeks is usually where we like to use the terminology of stillborn. So particularly in this instance, Chrissy Teigen, again, like you said, she's young, she's healthy. Every pregnancy is different. And this is why it's so important that we understand, especially in October, in the month of pregnancy and infant loss, is that there are so many stories that a lot of us don't know about our fellow family members or friends that they may have had a miscarriage and maybe have not chosen to speak about it. Is that it's important to understand it can happen to anyone. And you can see here, she's had 2 pregnancies in the past, and now this one, had this type of outcome. Now, looking generally when we think of the loss and what I can kind of gather from her case, what I think is that, 1, there are always things that we can take from our medical history that may increase your risk of having a loss or a miscarriage. Now, typically when we think of miscarriage, when it happens in the first trimester, that's going to be within the first 12 weeks. Many times that has to do with chromosomal abnormalities. And chromosomal abnormalities are obviously things that we can't thwart or we can't dictate. And, we're just not in charge of that. And that's usually where you'll see most of your miscarriages. So I would say medical conditions that a mother might have prior to getting pregnant, whether that's hypertension, diabetes, asthma, things that can increase your chances of having a miscarriage. Also, if you've had that happen in the past, that's usually an indicator that we would want to watch out for you in those next pregnancies to make sure that you don't have a miscarriage or a loss. And then the other thing, obviously, when you have these things happen that are traumatic from an event of like a car accident, obviously, or some type of trauma, those are things that can obviously lead to more of an impact when we think of miscarriage or stillbirth. So there are many factors, which is why we want you always, if you're pregnant, to be in the care of a health, care professional, whether that's a midwife, a nurse practitioner, an OBGYN, a family practice doctor who practices obstetrics, making sure you're getting that care and not neglecting the important prenatal care that's needed during a pregnancy.
Thank you for that. Now, someone who's experienced that type of loss, is there a certain period of time where one would have to wait before they try again? I mean, Chrissy referred to this as her miracle baby because her other 2 babies, Miles and Luna, were IVF. And then, so this was her miracle baby conceived naturally. So just wondering, is there a period of time in which you should wait before you try again? And for those who may not be finding success with the natural childbirth, any new therapies on the horizon outside of IVF or breakthroughs that we should know about? Because we really want to leave, aspiring parents with some hope and some options.
Yeah, I'll start out first with, again, looking at what you can do as far as options. I think one of the most important things when we think of medical therapy is what are the options that are available for people, especially if maybe they've gone through a long journey of, pregnancy loss, infant loss, or infertility challenges, is to know that there are so many options. One of the things is education is very empowering in the sense that the more that you know, the better options that you can make. And seeing an infertility specialist sometimes is not to go with the intent that I'm going to have a infertility treatment or IVF. It really is to gain perspective on who you are as a patient, what your options are, and what obstacles that you might have up against you and how you can navigate through that. Now, looking at newer technologies, I always say for people who might be struggling with infertility or have had a significant journey with, loss, is to really ask yourself from an emotional aspect is where you've been and what you're actually looking for long-term as far as expectations. And, sometimes when you take a step back and really look at that, The options sometimes can present themselves in different ways, whether it's with IVF, whether it's with a surrogate, whether it's with an egg donor, whether it's with adoption. And those things can always be navigated and taken off the list and put back on the list at different times. And no one should ever feel like they only have one way of doing that. And so that's why I think that there needs to be that discussion of what's really out there and what could this look like for me, and especially during this journey that can change. And the other thing that I would say is very important is to make sure that the emotional aspect of going through these losses and infertility is always paid attention to with some type of mental health professional, whether that's through a therapist, a counselor, a grieving counselor, and also through support systems, and finding people who have maybe gone through these themselves, and you can share stories. That always helps with overcoming that. Chrissy Teigen, I'm going to end with this real quick. You asked when she could start again. So we're just using her as an example. Now, because this was a spontaneous pregnancy, typically we like to say at least have one period before you would start again. That's how we know you're ovulating. Now, the other thing is that many people want to rush to start again, and what's the quickest way they can start. The other thing is to make sure that you've grieved. Specifically when you've maybe gone through this multiple times, or it's later on in the pregnancy that you have a loss, is to make sure you take that time to grieve and take all that in before you just start to move on. And that's what I would say about that, is segmenting that and making sure you're really paying attention to that and knowing all your options.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shepard. That was lots of helpful information. I really appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be resharing that information, because this is also something that we don't talk about a lot. And as you mentioned, there's lots of stories that we don't hear. And guys, so if you know someone who's experienced this, support them, love them, and just being informed, as Dr. Shepard says, is one of the first things to helping yourself and helping others. So Dr. Shepard, thank you so much for joining us. If you could just tell us real quickly, where can viewers follow you and find more about what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on most social media platforms except TikTok. That's my new one that I got to try. But I'm on Facebook at Her Viewpoint Community. And then on Instagram, I'm on Jessica Shepard, MD. That's SHEPHERD, MD. And on Twitter is JShepard_MD. So come find me on either one of those platforms. Maybe you might find me on TikTok soon. Who knows? Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you involving me in this conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Shepard. We appreciate you, and I value your expert opinion as always. I mean, you're on all the national shows, so you are definitely a go-to expert on all things women's health. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, I don't know if you know who Dr. Shepard is, but she's been on all of the national shows. She's so informed, so knowledgeable, so caring, and so seems so approachable. So definitely the characteristics you want to find in your doctor. But that was lots of good information. It's very important, even if you don't find yourself as a parent right now, or are thinking about being a parent, maybe you know of someone. So, still being aware of all of this information is still helpful, because you can still help someone. And then along the lines of awareness of important health issues, guys, October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Right? And according to the CDC, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience physical violence by their intimate partners sometime throughout their lifetime. And with COVID-19, we've done a lot of quarantine, social distancing. And while those interventions have been meant to protect us from that deadly virus, it may have been causing some problems for people who experience domestic violence. So, joining the show, I'm going to be bringing on a guest who has used her voice from victim to victor, raising awareness about gun and domestic violence issues. She is an author, also a motivational speaker, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story and her journey. Please welcome to the conversation, Dionna Clark. Hi, Dionna.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Dionna, I know that you have been on this gun and domestic violence crusade for over 15 years. And you've written a book, you do lots of public speaking. But for those people who may be new to meeting you, can you tell us a little bit about your story and what, your experience was that led you to be wanting to be this positive advocate?
Yeah, sure. First, I want to thank you for allowing me to sit with you on this platform and just to speak about domestic and gun violence and the importance of it. I believe that a lot of people tend to shy away from this topic because of, maybe it's not affecting them directly and things of that nature. But just, being able to be here with you to share my story, my experience, and get the word out about how domestic violence not only affects the person that it's happening to, but how it affects our community. It's a good thing. So thank you so much. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Okay, well,
Um,
no, thank you. I mean, we don't talk about this enough. So I'm so glad that we have you, because I think when we tell our stories, we give permission for other people to tell their stories, and we empower one another. So, telling our stories are very powerful. So if you can tell us about your story. I mean, I read a little bit about it, but if you can share with the viewers, please.
Yes. So mine started off where he was more, he was charming, he was handsome, the type of person that I'm attracted to, and he enticed me with buying me a lot of things. So all the name brands and taking me out to fancy restaurants was his thing and his way of enticing me. And so I decided to move in with him, and in moving in with him, I noticed that he abused alcohol more than he drank alcohol more than the typical person would.
Mm-hmm.
He became, in that time of being drunk, he was very emotional, abusive, uh, verbal, mental. He did a lot of those things that, saying things like, Dionna, you'll never amount to anything. Look
Oh,
at you,
wow.
you getting fat. Nobody wants you. And just, him and I constantly arguing, and having these tense yelling matches. And so those things continued. And so again, with my type of abuse, it was definitely the emotional, the mental, the financial, the things that most women, and I use women just in general, even though it can happen to men, but most women tend to think that hey, I don't have a mark on me, I'm okay, he's not abusing me, but this was his form of abuse. And so one day I got fed up and said, hey, I need to move out, and moved out, got my own place. And one night he decided that he wanted to come to get some dishes that he let me borrow. And so that night is when he came in and he shot me. He shot me twice. And I'm kind of like fast forwarding just for time's sake, but he shot me twice at point blank range. Once in the chest and once in the wrist. And then I later found out while I was in the hospital that he turned the gun on himself and he shot himself in the head. And yeah, and he spent maybe, I want to say, maybe a month or so on life support. And I never would have thought in a million years that he would have shot me. Never.
Wow. And I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And I just wanted to mention, we had some of our viewers are adding comments there when I'm posting up. And I think Kiana Howell says, it starts with mental and emotional before the physical. And that's right? The mental, emotional, and financial before it even gets physical. But it sounds like, and obviously hindsight's always 2020, but as people are listening, it sounds like he was controlling, as far as maybe where you would go, what you would do, your money. I'm not sure if he cut you off from family and friends, because I think some people like to isolate their victims, and then became physically abusive. So I'm sorry that you went through that. Now, and you're doing well today, though.
Yes, definitely. I went through my dark moment of, suffering from the post-traumatic stress disorder and being depressed and things like that. And my mom actually identified it like, hey, you're depressed. I think something's going on. You need to get out. You need to see a counselor. And in doing that and finding the right counselor, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm in a good place right now.
Right. And I think some of the things that you were sharing, so you said that your mom identified the depression probably before maybe you identified it. Do you feel like that's common with victims, that they might just be trying to push through it and not recognize that they're in a depression or need some mental help or counseling? You're working with domestic violence and gun violence victims through your organization, Live Out Loud. So what are some of the things that you're seeing when it comes to survivors of domestic violence?
Definitely not identifying it right then and there that they are in a domestic violence situation. Instead, it's okay. It's my fault. Why he's doing this. It's all on me. He didn't leave any marks. He only said these few words. So just not actually taking for granted that, just because he's not leaving a mark on you does not mean that you're not in an abusive relationship. Because if you ask any survivor, they'd rather be beaten than have to deal with the verbal and mental and emotional part of abuse, because those things take time. They take a whole lot of time to just unravel that. And just speaking from experience, it took a while to actually get those words and those feelings that were connected and those emotions that were connected to the words that were coming out of his mouth as it pertained to me. And so I had to break those things down, mentally, and put them in a healthy mind, in a healthy part of my mindset, so that I wouldn't filter everything out of what he said or what I experienced with him.
Exactly. And just to add to what you said, and as a nurse, if I see someone with a broken bone, I can project healing time. There are medications and treatments and things that I can do to comfort that physical pain.
Yes.
I can do medicine to make the pain go away and all of those things. And 6 weeks from now, the fracture or the broken bone is healed. However, like we said, with that mental, emotional stress, that can be lifelong and very damaging to your self-esteem, your motivation, and just keep you down. Can you tell us a little bit about your organization, Live Out Loud, and what it does to help domestic violence and gun violence victims?
Sure. So it evolved out of my traumatic experience with domestic violence, and my comforting with dealing with my situation was taking a Zumba class. And so with taking that Zumba class, because I love to dance, I ended up becoming an instructor. And so now I'm before these women and I'm empowering them physically. And so, one day I just told my story, and it grew from there to these women coming to me with certain stories of their own. And so I was just like, I need to do something for those who don't have a voice, those that are afraid. So I felt like it was meant for me to go through what I went through, to stand in the gap for these women or for these people, children, men that could not speak on their behalf, that were too afraid to speak up about the situations they were going through. And so, I said, let's do it. So we put together Live Out Loud. And what we do is we bring awareness of domestic and gun violence to the community. And we do that through, it could be webinars, or every year we have a annual event. We have one for adults in October, and then we have another one around February, March, during teen dating violence awareness month. We do those two events, yes, annually, because we want people to know, like, I want you to identify that, hey, this is me, because I didn't identify it until I literally was out of the relationship and I saw a commercial when I was at home with my mom. I said, wait a minute, that's me. That's what I went through. So if we can get these people to identify this now, if we can educate them now, then it will prevent them from going into a relationship. Because I guarantee you, if I was the woman that I am now, I would have left that joker a long time ago. I would have left.
I'm sure. And you know what? And that's good, because we need to be role models. We need to talk to our young people about relationships, because listen here, relationships don't seem to have any maps, any good books, even without the domestic violence. And you add that to it, like, so I think it's really important that people hear stories. So maybe, and when they're hearing stories, if something happens to them, they can recognize, like, oh no, that sounds familiar. And I recall how that story played out. Not me, not today. And I think that's what we need to do to empower each other, because we should have clear-cut boundaries. Everyone deserves to respect. Everyone deserves to be treated with kindness. But again, based on sometimes our self-esteem, the environment we grew up in, we're looking for love and attention. And sometimes we will still take in that love and attention when it's not healthy for us. And we have to be better at that. We have to be better at that. And so, Diona, you also have a book, Survival is Victory.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so tell us about your book.
So the book that I wrote is based off of my experience with domestic violence, but it also talks about just different facts of life. I don't even like to call it a book. I like to call it a tool, because I truly believe that there's nuggets in there that people can take and apply them to their own daily life. And one thing that I like about the book is that at the end of each chapter, there's a moment of reflection. So you have a section where you can jot down notes, just kind of like thinking about, the chapter. And there's even questions in there that, I asked the reader, like, hey, have you ever experienced this? What did it feel like? Or, how can you become better at this? And things like that. And so I get a lot of good feedback from, people liking that reflecting part of the book. But one of my favorite parts of the book talks about being a kind of like a safety net for a domestic violence survivor, and just what does a safety net look like in regards to the people that she's surrounded by. And so that's one of my favorite parts. But a lot of people love this book. It's my baby.
Oh, good. And thank you for writing the book and being a safety net, not only for women, but for men as well, guys. I started off the segment saying that this does happen to men too. So I don't want y'all saying that, oh, Nurse Alice was just talking about the ladies. No, we recognize it can happen to men and it can happen to women. The bottom line is it should not be happening to anyone. So we definitely want to have conversations, empower one another. Let's talk about gun violence, domestic violence, and let's do better at protecting ourselves and our village. Right? We need to protect the village. And so, Diona, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. We love you. Perhaps we can have you come back in the future. But real quickly, can you tell our viewers where they can follow you and your organization in case they want to get involved or contribute in some way?
Definitely. They can look me up on Facebook, Dionna Clark, and also on Instagram, Dionna Live Out Loud. And that's Dionna, LIVOUTLOUD. And then also my website is www.LIVOUTLOUD4 They can also get the book from the website as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Keep doing the good work. We're going to try to support you as much as we can, and we need to continue to have these conversations. So thank you for joining us, Diona. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. So, guys, listen. Let me tell you about domestic violence. Not that I'm necessarily the expert, but I do know this. My mother and my father raised me well enough to know that I should not be treating people in that fashion, nor should I be treated that way. And I think it's really common sense. But unfortunately, in today's world, we have so many different things happening. And we just need to be better at having conversations around the topic, empowering one another, using our resources, casting our net wide. I don't have to know you that you deserve to be treated well and treated better. So thank you to Diona and her organization, Live Out Loud. We're gonna support them in their efforts as they support survivors and victims turned victors of domestic violence. And so I know it's kind of been a heavy show, right? We've talked about pregnancy and infant loss awareness. We've talked about domestic violence awareness. And these can be very heavy topics, heavy on our mental and physical. And so when it comes to being healthy and well, I always like to say we need to balance our physical with our mental health and well-being. And some of that mental health well-being includes finding things that make us happy, engaging in activities that bring us joy. And so I'm going to switch the topic a little bit. We're going to switch gears and get into something that is a lighter topic, more enjoyable. You guys, I think, and entertaining, I will say. So joining the conversation, we have a great guest. I'm actually going to get his clip ready. He is a multi-talented former NFL superstar turned actor. Let's go ahead and play his clip here. Gotta love technology. And then I'll come back and finish with his intro.
Marcy, we do not need to spend $10,000 on Chandler's Christmas/birthday party. Did I ever tell you what my mother did for my birthday?
What?
She got me a party hat, a cupcake, and she sang happy birthday and called it a night. And you want to know the icing on that cupcake was? Huh?
Tell me what?
A big old fat
chick. She wrote you a big fat check for your birthday?
No.
Guys. So please welcome, I am bringing to the show Karon Joseph Riley. He is a man with meaningful intentions. He's been very intentional with his NFL superstar career, and he is also a father, a husband, an actor, producer, director, and upcoming author. Whew, the brother's busy. And he is a man who says he will always keep pedaling until all of his goals are checked off. Please welcome to the show, Karon Joseph Riley. Hey!
Peace and love, Queen. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, baby. I mean, we out here, we above ground, and everything's going great.
There we go. Lots to be thankful for, even though things are going on in the world. Still, our cup is half full, I like to say. So, Karon seems to be a man of many talents here. I want to bring it to your roots, though, because you're from the D, you're from Detroit.
What up,
right?
though?
Superstar athlete. You played football, basketball, track and field in high school. I mean, and I know you were in the NFL, but I want to ask, what really was your favorite sport when you were in high school?
Basketball, without a doubt. That was my first love. Still is my first love. It's the only sport that I would ever play for free. Football, at that point, I would never play football for free at that pro level. That's crazy. But yeah, basketball is my first love, and it still is.
Okay. So that's interesting. Basketball was your favorite love. But then you went the football route. So let me see. You had a stellar career at the University of Minnesota. You were the 4th round NFL draft pick for the Chicago Bears. You've also played for the Atlanta Falcons and Washington Redskins before transitioning into acting. So the NFL can be very competitive. Lots of rigorous work, lots of practice. Would you say that your accomplished NFL career has helped prepare you for this transition into the acting industry?
Great question, and I would absolutely agree and say yes, 100%. I tell people all the time, like, the NFL prepared me for the next stage of entertainment perfectly. No's don't bother me. Things not moving as fast as you think this is gonna move doesn't bother me. I understand working in the dark to prepare for the light, and that's an athlete's life. We put 10,000 hours in behind the scenes, so when you see us on TV, it looks effortless. When LeBron flies through the air, he put 10,000 hours in that. He's at mastery level. And as an athlete, that's our quest, to get to mastery. And I think everybody's quest should be to get to mastery in life at least 2 or 3 times in their lifetime.
Right. And you sure hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's lots of no's in this entertainment industry. So y'all, he's making it look good. I'm making it look good. But listen here, ain't nothing easy. There's hours of hard work, perseverance behind what looks easy. But you make it look very good. I have to say that. Now you've been doing a lot of acting. You've come a long way. You've started lots of films and TV shows like OWN's TV show Ambitions. And you've also starred in so many Christmas movies. I mean, people are starting to call you Saint Nick. I mean, what can you tell us about some other upcoming projects that you have in the pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. I've really started writing and doing my own thing with some of my partners, Lim Collins and Marcus and Mike Allen. We've started our own company where we write and producing our own content. I got my first pilot that I wrote and directed and starred in with my partner, Lim Collins, called The Fellas. That's coming out very soon. We just finished another thriller called Vault of Terrors Volume 1 that we're releasing on Halloween on Scriptworks, the YouTube channel Scriptworks.
Okay.
And we're dropping that on the 30th, 31st, Halloween. So we're dropping that on Halloween. And and I got the book coming. I got Man Laws coming in the first quarter next year. And of course, I just got word of a new Saints and Sinners movie that we're gonna start shooting too. So that's some new information for the fans and some new stuff. So that's actually an exclusive.
Oh, exclusive. Of course, on the exam room. This is where you get all the exclusives, y'all. All of the exclusives. Now, I know you're doing acting and all of these things. You have kind of a secret weapon in your household, though, I have to say. Because you are married to the lovely and talented actor, writer, producer, director, Terry J. Vaughn. So I'm just curious to know, how has it been having a spouse that understands the journey and the work. Because I have to say, some people in relationships, if you have a partner that doesn't understand this type of work,
it won't work.
Yeah, you in trouble. It's like, you going on another audition? When are you going to get a job? Like, when are you going to do and that's the last thing you need to hear as a creative. But I mean, you have Terry there. So tell us what it's been like having her as a kind of a support system and a secret weapon in your back pocket.
It's always good when you can get like-minded people in your circle, and my wife is exactly what you just said. We're like-minded individuals. We're both artists. We're both entrepreneurs. We've both decided to bet on ourselves and our talents for this lifetime, and it's not for the faint of heart. I tell people all the time, it's just getting into this business. If you're trying to get into it, be rich or famous, that's the wrong reasons, because that's not why you get into it. Because I'm guaranteeing you, it won't work out that way for you. You have to get into it for the love and what makes your spirit sing. And for us, it makes us both very happy to do what we love to do, and we're very fortunate to be able to take care of our family and ourselves through our craft and through our love. And I think that's a blessing. Like you said, yes, she's a secret weapon. She's my queen. She's my right hand, my left hand, the middle, and everything else you got to have. And it helps, and it definitely helps tremendously in this journey.
Yes, and I mean that's so wonderful that you guys are like-minded. You can understand each other's journeys. You're there for each other. You guys also have children, and so I know COVID-19 has kind of shifted the landscape. So in addition to being these actors, writers, producers, and obviously parents, now teachers, now all of these things going on in the household. Right. So how's that been, juggling, that type of a career where you have to be so proactive and creative? I mean, again, writing your own content, writing a book, while now juggling the schoolhouse in the house.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that the pandemic was a shock to a lot of people, but for artists and creators, we spend a lot of time at home working anyway. So for us, we're used to downtime. We're used to having long stretches of no work. You know what I'm saying? We're used to like sitting there like, well, what's next? We don't know what's next. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on this right now. So for us as creatives, we always kind of stay in the moment of what we're doing. We kind of, put work and put seeds, and we run around planting seeds in the soil all over the place. You know what I'm saying? We run over there and shuffle that in the dirt and put a little water on it, come back to it a couple weeks later, and we just keep going. And it's, with the kids and with school, we're fortunate because our schedules allow us to actually be here and not have to run out and be all over the place if we don't necessarily have to. But I ain't gonna hold you up. I completely failed at the whole homeschooling thing. I'm not a teacher. In that aspect, I was talking to my 5-year-old Lola, but she just turned 6 now, like it was on the football field. Like, I'm like, you got to read these sight words. I need them 3 times, and I need them done written out. It was too much. So we hired one of our dear friends to teach and to come over and support that with our daughter and give her that actual kind of give her a feel that is different than being home. So yeah, like I said, we've been very fortunate.
That's good. And let me tell you something. My kids are homeschooled. I don't know what kind of math this is. I really don't. I don't recall having to do this type of level. I was like, yeah, I think that was an elective in college. I think that's the class you chose, and I didn't choose that. But it's been very challenging. But I'm glad to see that it's been successful for you guys. You guys have found something that works. And guys, that's what's important. Everyone's family is going to be a little bit different. Circumstances a little bit different. But as long as you have a good, solid family unit and what y'all do works, I love it. I really love it. Now, I have to also ask, well, I don't really ask, because you played all these sports in high schools. You were in the NFL. So, and you seem very fit. I've seen some of your videos. So you're this fitness enthusiast. I hate you. But you ride your bike for miles and miles and miles on end. Well, first off, how many miles do you ride on average on a bike ride?
At the peak, in my peak season, like midsummer, like we're doing this pandemic, I was averaging damn near 200 miles a week.
How many miles?
200 miles. And
200.
Yeah, 200. I'm lower than that right now just because I've been super busy shooting and everything. But midsummer, when this pandemic was in full swing and you couldn't do nothing, I would just go out on my bike for like 2 or 3 hours and come back 50 miles, 60 miles, 100 miles, whatever I felt like, And wow. It was a blessing, man. That was my meditation, really, to be honest with you.
That's good. You found an activity that you like, and while you're on that bike ride, you can meditate, clear your mind, do all those things. So that's good, physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Now, I will say you put me to shame because I don't even think I could ride in my car that many miles, let alone get on a bike and ride it.
Well, I'm in a job that I still have to look good in. Like football was, I had to be in shape and be able to do that, or I would go out there and get killed, literally. And now, you know, I'm working, and I'm still, you know, working in my 30s. So I got these young guys in their 30s. So I got to show up and be the whole package. I can't show up and have this and then everything don't match. You know what I'm saying? Like, can you take your shirt off? Absolutely. Where you need it off at? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. Yeah. So yeah, that's part of the craft.
There it is. Yes, it is. I mean, being on camera, you have to, you know, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And but no, I really admire, I mean, I was teasing, but I really admire people who have that type of discipline, because it also requires some discipline to get up and exercise, because some of us, and I'll say us because sometimes I have those weeks, we struggle with just the 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So, but I think the key is the best exercise is the exercise that you will do. So for you, that's bike riding. I love it. But I also have to say, you have this hashtag, keep pedaling. Mm-hmm. So is that just kind of spin off of your bike rides, or is that a motivational phrase that you can share with us?
It started on a bike for me. I'll be honest. I was out and I was real far one day and I was really tired and I didn't think I could make it back. And I just knew it from an old story. It was like, when you got to paint a really big fence, you don't look at the whole fence. You look at one stick at a time. So it was like, I got to just keep pedaling. I may not go fast right now, but as long as I keep pedaling, I'm going to get home. So then I kind of looked at it like my life, my career. I've always been pedaling. And that's been one of the things that has helped me be successful, is that I don't let adversity, I don't let bad energy or bad things stop me from pedaling my butt to the goal. So it's like, it kind of hit me. I was like, yo, this is kind of who I am. And and then I started, you know, it was right around the same time this whole social media thing was popping off and people was putting hashtags and and I was like, what am I? Who am I? Like, I was like, I keep pedaling. That's my secret. That's my superpower. You know, like The Rock he's bigger than life. He's a world beater. Me, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just keep going until everybody falls off, and I still be the last man standing. And then you gotta pick me.
There you go. Gosh, that's really good. You guys, so yeah, just keep pedaling. Just keep pedaling. Don't give up. Like you said, you'll be there. Even if you're the last person standing, you'll still be there.
Yep. And time is gonna go regardless, whether you moving forward or not. So you might as well just keep moving forward with time, because time ain't gonna stop. So any dream goal you want to do, just start moving towards it. Like you said, 30 minutes a day working out, just do little things every day, and it starts to matter. It starts to add up. And next thing you know, you'll be stronger. And next thing you know, pedaling and getting there faster, it just happens naturally.
Yes, you get faster and stronger without even knowing it. It just happens. But the key, guys, is to just get started. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't, just one step at a time. Even if it's just one step, that's one step closer to your goal than you were yesterday. So take that one step, keep pedaling. Karon, this has been very good. Lots of good information. I'm really excited about the projects that you have coming up. Now, before you leave, we want to know, where can the viewers follow you? Where can they, keep up with you so we don't miss, all the projects that you got going on?
Well, very soon, you won't have to look very hard at all, because it's going to be worldwide, global. But in the meantime, I'm on all social media platforms. Basically, my name, Karon Joseph Riley, Karon J. Riley. Usually, if you put in Karon, Karon, it pops up. And you can find me there on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And that's where you can find me. And of course, you can look on most networks and just put in my name too. And all the Christmas movies you mentioned and all the other stuff will pop up as well.
We're going to call you Saint Nick. Is that
that's a good name. They used to call me Mr. Marry Me for Christmas, but I like Saint Nick.
Saint Nick. Yeah, because you're playing all those Christmas movies. So no, this is good. And then if you could just say one more time, you have a project dropping on Halloween. Can you say the name of that project one more time? We want to make sure we don't miss it.
Yep, The Vault of Terrors, Volume 1, and it's on Scriptworks YouTube channel. So look it up, Scriptworks. It's a YouTube station that my partners have been developing and growing over the years, and they are officially my new Bob Johnson. So every content I do, I'm putting it on there for them, and we're going to build their station while they build us, and we're going to build each other, just as we should do as Black Africans in this country.
Yes, very important. We have to support each other. And so I thank you so much for stepping into the exam room to support me in this show. And I'm so happy to support you and share with all the viewers things that you're working on. I've seen your stuff. Yeah, really good, funny, and you do play in a lot of Christmas movies. But we got this Halloween one. I'm looking forward to seeing all the range. And you've done some scary stuff too. I've seen some.
I'm broad my horizons. You know, I figured I let the rock have the summers and I take the holidays. It's a fair trade.
There you go. There you go. You guys, this has been Karon Joseph Riley. Thank you so much for stepping into the exam room. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will be watching, following, and supporting you. Thank you so much, Karon.
Anytime, Queen. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, guys, this has been good. Oh my, and like my phone is blowing up. I was like, yes. So much good information at the top of the show. And then we got to talk to Karon Joseph Riley, all of the wonderful things that he's working on. You guys, this is a world pandemic. You home anyways. You should be watching and alert, good content out there. Keep yourself entertained, support our Black Hollywood, our Black actors. And if you have not seen him before, you've seen him now. So get ready because he's about to go worldwide with all of his new projects. So make sure you support him and follow him on social media, as well as the other guests that have been on the show. So let's see what else. What else has been going on? Man, so much. I'm almost like, what else can I talk about? I don't want to stuff y'all with too much information. But we've had a good show. Lots of great things going on. You guys, this is some, I'm creating this content from my own bedroom, believe it or not, in the corner. And I do this because, for one, I think representation matters. I am a Black woman who is a nurse. I feel diversity is important. I feel like there are important health topics that we need to talk about that we don't always get to talk about on our kind of standard national television shows. So this is the platform that I've selected to talk to you about these things. And I'm hoping that it has kind of a family feel to it. You can ask us the questions you want by sending us your emails, following us on social media. You can follow me at AskNurseAlice.com on everything. As well, you can send your questions, your comments about the show to info@AskNurseAlice.com. And many of the things that we talk about on the show are based on your requests, based on things that you have said. And so, I do this show every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to keep doing this show. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep talking about important health, wellness, love, lifestyle, politics, pop culture, and all of these things, because your physical health, it's not just about your physical health, like just exercise and eating and medications and things like that. It's also about what you're taking in as far as what you're hearing, what you're reading, what you're seeing, your mental health. I also want this to be a platform where I can empower you, and share something new with you so you can share it with someone else, because knowledge is key. When you have the information, you can make better and healthier choices, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and all of those things. And that's really what this is about, because this is the exam room where we take a closer look at things going on in the world today. So I want to thank everyone who joined us and who are watching, whether you watched us on Facebook, whether you watched us on LinkedIn, whether you watched us on YouTube streaming live, or whether you are watching the replay. Thank you so much for all your love and support. This has been the Exam Room with Nurse Alice. Make sure that you continue to watch and support the show as we grow. And then also, want to send a little teaser out there about what we got going on next week. Next Monday, guys, I have some show friends, exam room friends that are coming back to the show. We have psychotherapist Andrea Wise Brown, as well as psychiatrist Dr. Ish Major from WeTV's Marriage Bootcamp, who will be joining the conversation. And we're going to bring it back. We're going to talk about relationships, especially how to deal with the heartbreak of losing a loved one, whether it was an intimate relationship, whether it's a family member, or whether, a friend at work, whatever the case may be. How do you deal with and rise above the heartbreak of losing a friend or a loved one? So we'll be talking about that. And then along those lines, joining the conversation, we have R&B sensation Vito. Yes, Vito, that sings You Got It, who's going to be joining us for an interim interview. Maybe I can get him to sing a little something. But he has You Got It. That is the Boss Up that is the Breakup Boss Up anthem for 2020. And so we'll be breaking down some of his lyrics and talking to him about his inspiration and his musical journey. And so you won't want to miss out, guys. Make sure you tune in every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, we're going to be talking about health, wellness, love, lifestyle, politics, and little pop culture. And I just dropped who was coming in next week, so you won't want to miss it. Thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, guys, be kind to one another, wash your hands, be safe, and live well, my friends. Till next time. Bye.